Welcome back, everybody. Where why
My dark.
I have other words to describe you. Dark is one of them. There are
Let me
many
move
others.
over here. I'll
Yeah,
move to the.
it's a nice little backdrop, but we can't see your.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
would say
Well,
pretty face, but that I don't want to lie to the audience.
I'm over here next to the recyclable waste. Is that better?
That's a description for my life, so I appreciate it.
How's it going?
Um, it's going. It's probably better for. Well, I was trying to make some lead in saying my life is better because I won't be paying Android royalties, but if you were to buy a phone here in the European Union where you are, and starting in
Hmm.
a month, you would be. Google, if you're not aware, made a I don't know if bombshell, but if you jump in the timeline, the Windows 10 timeline, and you went back to a couple weeks ago or whatever, Google got fined $5 billion for their antics with Android, and they've actually found a pretty good way to pay for that $5 billion, and it's actually charging people of the EU. It's kind of
Yeah.
brilliant.
I only kind of read through the announcement quickly yesterday because we were out, doing whatever in Dublin,
Mhm.
and I thought, this is interesting. They've clearly learned from the past. They're not making the mistakes that Microsoft made. They're complying. I mean, they're also going
Mhm.
to appeal. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. It's a new googly way of doing things. And then I read through it and I thought to myself, you know what? Actually, they're very much doing what Microsoft did in some ways. They're,
Mhm.
they're kind of extending their middle finger toward this continent and saying, yeah, look, we're going to comply with these stupid, ruling, but we're going to make everyone there pay for it. So,
Pretty
it's
much.
in, and the reason that's so brilliant is um, people are going to be impacted by this, right? And so they'll be able to demonstrate, Google and their partners, that the same device is available in two
Mhm.
different places at different prices. And sorry, but the one from the EU or from the entire European economic area is more expensive because now you guys need to pay separately for these things because Europe doesn't think we should bundle them for free.
Yep.
It's interesting. I mean,
It really is. It's also kind of underscores the idea that if you went to Microsoft and said, "Hey, you could own the European continent with your software for $5 billion. That's all it takes." They would have jumped on that in a heartbeat because we
mhm.
already know they spent $8 billion on Nokia trying to do this, and then another couple billion trying to actually sell the stuff. And Google basically got away with running around for $5 billion, and then it's honestly hilarious that they're like, okay, we'll pay it, and then we'll just charge all of you for the rest of time, and they'll probably make
Hmm.
quite a bit more because what's an Android phone without Google Play, Google Search, and Chrome and all that stuff? I mean,
It's a brick.
right? Like people keep saying like Microsoft should launch an Android store and they could compete. No, they're not going
Oh
to.
yeah, they've proven they know how to handle a mobile store. Those guys.
Wow.
No, I mean, well, no, I mean, Google is in an interesting position that Microsoft wasn't in, and
Hmm.
that is that their biggest apps and services are actually really popular
Yeah.
and are kind of mission critical when you think about it. Gmail, Google Calendar, Google Search, Google
Hmm.
Photos. Um, People want this stuff. So you
Yep.
could pull it off the phone, I guess. Congratulations, Google Play Store, obviously. Um, yeah, I mean, go nuts. But everyone wants this stuff, guys. It's really interesting.
The
So
only
we'll see how this goes down.
The only ones I could think of who might benefit from this are
Hmm.
there are some super low end Android handsets that are really just nothing other
Yeah.
than being able to call and basic browser functionality. I could see them potentially possibly benefiting, but anybody who's buying a Galaxy S9, a Pixel, or all that good stuff, they're going to want the store. And so on that end of the
Yeah.
market, absolutely getting paid every time.
It long term, it may help Samsung. I mean, they've been
Hmm.
busy trying to eliminate Google from their phones, and one of the issues with Samsung phones is that there's a lot of duplication of stuff, and so you
Yep.
see two apps that do the same thing. That might help them a little bit. Although I think there's going to be some pushback from users if the Google stuff isn't there.
Hmm.
And then the other interesting case, the other interesting high-profile case, is Amazon, right? Because
Yep.
Amazon, because of the Amazon, the Android licensing terms, has been prevented from working with any first-tier hardware makers to make their
Hmm.
Fire tablets and so forth. And now that
Yep.
restriction's actually gone. Although, it's EU only too. That's the other thing. I mean, and that's I kind of like I said earlier, this is kind of the genius of the plan, or part of the. Actually, I didn't say this earlier. I'm sorry. This is the other genius part of the plan is, it's this everything we just said is EU only. So Android licensing hasn't changed in the rest of the planet.
Right.
And you could have. I never really considered this aspect of it, which is stupid because Microsoft did this too. Think about it with the browser ballot and so forth. I always kind of figured, well, if you're going to change something this dramatic, you're just going to do it everywhere. And they're like, no, we're not doing that.
Yeah.
The Amazon. Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, the only way I could see this becoming, like, it doesn't. The only thing I keep thinking of is like Amazon has their Fire Stick and stuff, and they have their own kind of store for that. The only way this could ever really make sense is if like many manufacturers came together, such as like Amazon, Samsung, Microsoft, and they all built their own store that's basically everybody but Google, and then they launched it. But the problem, to your point, Paul, here is that people are going to still open this phone and they're going to want to download Google Maps, and like hell, Google is going to put that map app into the competing store.
That's right. That's right. Although I want you mentioned the low-end phone thing. That's kind of interesting because one of the other things that just happened in the past 24 hours was Chrome 70, and Google is putting a lot of their web services into PWA for them, which means that they can basically be installed onto Windows today and Mac and Linux in the future, and Android as well. This might be an interesting way to get Google services on any device. I mean, not quite as sophisticated as the full mobile app, but I don't know. In some cases, it's exactly enough. So
yeah,
I don't know. Interesting times.
Yeah, it will be, and if nothing else, it kind of just it changes the game up a little bit. But to your point, though, it only changes the game for a very small portion of the global population. So we'll see how this one plays out.
Yeah, they chipped this one back nicely. I thought this was a nice return. I didn't see this one coming.
I don't think the EU did either.
I know.
Because somebody had a great little just making fun of it. It says, EU's mad at Google, fines Google. Google says, okay, we'll charge people on the front and the back end. And then the EU says, yeah, that's great. Like it's.
That's what we wanted. More competition.
Like Google just looked at this and just said, they just threw us a business plan. We can justify it by regulation, and now we can charge people money. The question realistically comes down to how much that licensing fee is going to be, and how they're actually, because they're saying they're going to charge the carriers, but that's passed on to the user.
Of course it is. Are you kidding me? Do you think those guys have swallowed his charge? Yeah, look. The law of the courts move slowly. In Europe, it's even worse. I can imagine this is going to go back and forth for a long time. I mean, Google will come up with some licensing charge. It'll be some amount, and they'll say no, it's too much, and and then another 6 months is going to go by. Like this is going to take forever.
It's going to be great if they say that's too much, and they say, well, what if we offer it for free?
Yeah, here's an idea. I'm throwing it out here.
Tell me if you've heard this one.
Tell me what you think of this brand new idea for Android licensing.
I was kind of hoping we would get some sort of browser ballot initiative into Android just to make it a more of a cluster. But
somebody should mock up a screen that's like an Android screen, but it looks like the browser ballot.
They really should. If you're listening, that's what you should do. And then, as you hinted here, Google is now doing more progressive web apps with their stuff. Did they say the only one I really care about is their calendar? Do we know if that's coming?
So I only had a little bit of time today to work as we're doing the stuff today at the event, and I upgraded to Google Chrome 70. I looked at what it did with various sites, like app.starbucks.com is an actual PDA. It does say install. You can right-click it in the start menu and choose uninstall. It is no different than it was in Chrome 69. I'm a little confused what the difference is because my wife's computer hadn't been upgraded. I looked, when you if you installed Spotify or Starbucks, right? It doesn't go under S in the start menu, right? In the all apps list, it actually just goes under Chrome apps as a folder.
Oh,
it's always done that, right? So that's nothing new. You can right click there and choose uninstall, but you could do that in Chrome 69. You can, it does make a shortcut on the desktop. I don't think it always did that if you didn't choose it. Well, no, actually, I think it did actually. You can pin it to start the taskbar as before. It has the kind of, well, I guess the big difference maybe is the title bars are color. No, that's not new either. I don't think there's anything new. I even though they're kind of promoting it now, I think this was kind of there.
Maybe it's just finalized, and that's the only.
Yeah. I mean, in some ways, it's a bigger, not a bigger deal, but as big a deal. It's coming to the Mac and Linux, and apparently that's going to happen in Chrome 72. So I don't know what that is, 4 months, 5 months, whatever from now, but not too much longer. Anyway, my quickie evaluation of it was, and I was able to do it side by side with the old version. So I didn't actually see a difference. I was really excited when I saw this headline. I thought, oh my God, this is, and I literally thought, this right click on install like you can do with the UWP app was going to be new or something. But I went back and looked at Chrome 69. I'm like, actually, that was already there. So I don't know. I'm not sure.
I don't know either. The only one I care about is Calendar, and I don't use, well, I guess maybe Twitter, but even then I'm just using TweetDeck, so it's...
Well, if you're using Chrome as your browser, you can still, from Calendar, create the shortcut. It may not say install, but you can still create the shortcut. Yep. You can pin it to your taskbar. It will be in your start menu. If that's
exactly what I do.
And the other thing is, just from a sophistication standpoint, the other thing I checked was, if you right-click the icon for, I did this for Starbucks. If you right-click the icon in the Start menu, which again is under Chrome Web Apps, I think it says, or Chrome Apps, and you say Pin to Start, it will pin it to Start, but it pins it as a Chrome icon. So it doesn't have it's not styled like the app icon. So it's not even better in that way. So I'm just not 100% clear what they did.
Yeah, interesting stuff. Not a whole lot happening on the Microsoft front right now, and I'm running a little bit late because my afternoon is filled with a webinar. So it's you got anything else? Yeah, you got anything else today from the LAN up under? It's underneath the Arctic ice cap.
Yeah, Mary Jo and I are speaking in a little while. We're kind of closing the show down in so many ways, and we're doing Windows Weekly from next door over here. So we'll be busy for the next 4 or 5 hours. Whatever. And
then you've told me 5 times, but you leave Thursday night.
Thursday morning.
Thursday morning.
Yeah, we'll be traveling all day, so we should be home by. Well, we get in around dinner time, so we should be at our house by breakfast the next day, based on the Philadelphia traffic. Yeah.
Well, fantastic. So basically, folks, what Paul just told you is that there's going to be no show tomorrow, which means I'm going to sleep in, even though that doesn't really impact anything at all. So have yourselves a wonderful Wednesday, and we'll catch you back on a live show, which should be on Friday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. You can find that information at thurrott.com/live. And have yourself a wonderful rest of the week.